Callie's head was here and his nose was right here in my face, just
I stepped in
screaming.
front of my husband with my hands down and said, Walker, stop. Just stop it, stop. Because he was approaching us and getting closer. And
I'm like, Walker, I'm going to throw this at you, meaning get back. I wasn't going to hit him. I wasn't going to, do that kind of thing. But to have somebody spitting, screaming, beat red head and face, going, don't talk to my.
right. So I would like to speak first because this last incident, and the reason I have to look this way to look at Walker, but I guess the camera is here. But the most recent incident involved me, but I would say my husband is really the target of the anger. But we filed this petition because I was now involved.
And Mr. Poshog or Ms. Whiteside, who's going to be the primary speaker this morning?
I would like to be.
Okay, Ms. Whiteside. You're neighbors of Mr. Yost, is that right?
Yes, correct. We live 7 houses away.
Okay. And you indicate in your petition that Mr. Yost yells at you, he threatens you. So give me some specifics.
Right. So I would like to speak first because this last incident, and the reason I have to look this way to look at Walker, but I guess the camera is here. But the most recent incident involved me, but I would say my husband is really the target of the anger. But we filed this petition because I was now involved in not feeling safe. So do you want me to just tell you what happened on that incident?
Sure.
Then? Okay.
And actually, before you start, let me make sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Yost has filed documents himself. Have you
Yes.
reviewed those documents?
Yeah, I have them here. And so what I was going to say, first I have a question because I've never been through this before. Is there a transcript of what's happening right now?
We're making a recording.
A recording. Okay.
And if you want a transcript of it later, you can make
We
that
just didn't
request.
see cause to hire a lawyer and file official documents. So there were 2 things I wanted to correct in Walker's statement that are about me, since this is a legal document. And just in case, and my name is not spelled C-A-L-I, it's minor, but if there's a record,
Okay.
that's not correct. If you want to Google me, you won't find me as C-A-L-I. Also, I am not from a wealthy family in Philadelphia. I don't know who Walker's thinking of when he says that in this document. And that is not me. Okay, so just 2 clarifications. So I don't even know where it's been probably 6 weeks ago. We were walking our dogs, and we have had our son's dog to the lake, which is adjacent to Walker's property. We have to walk past his driveway to get to a gated community lake. And we saw his adult son, 21-year-old son, walking Walker's dog. George is the dog. Bodie is the son. We've known Bodie his life. He's 21 years old now. Our daughter used to babysit him and his little brother. Our daughter's 32 now. We stopped to talk to Bodie and ask him how he was doing. And we had our son's dog, who was a long-haired dog, and Shaggy. And we've always had labs. And we said, Bodie, where do you get George groomed? We've never had to use a groomer. At that point, I wasn't aware that Walker had pulled into his driveway. I hadn't seen him, didn't know he was there. And this is where it's different than the order of what he says happened. When I was first aware that Walker was present, Bodie turned to the driveway and said, Dad, where do we get George? And Walker came charging out of his driveway yelling, don't you dare talk to my kid. Don't you dare come on my property and talk to my kid.
Yeah, just address me. You don't need
I want to see his face.
Right. Yeah, just address me.
Okay. Don't you dare come on my property and talk to my kid. And I'm still shocked. I was in shock. I was like,
We're 30 feet.
Okay, no, one at a time.
Yeah.
I said, Walker, we're standing in the road. We're not on your property. We're standing in the road. And he said, you're in front of my mailbox. and don't you dare talk to any of my kids. And at that point, he says that he told Bodie, go walk his 21-year-old son, go walk the dog. I never heard that. What I saw was Bodie look at the ground and just walk away. And my feeling was, ooh, he doesn't want to be crossways with his dad. So he walked away. Unfortunately, he was a witness, walked away. But the other things that I wanted to correct is that I never saw a phone in Walker's hands. He says he had a phone and had it on speaker, and someone was able to hear. If he had it on speaker and it was in his pocket, I don't know how that witness could have heard accurately, but I never saw phones, so I wanted to correct that. And it's interesting that he documented also in what he filed is the text message he sent, not to just one of the board members of our neighborhood association, he sent it to all of them. Although Ted never received a copy, it looked like he was on the list, but we couldn't find it in his phone. But saying in the text message, don't trespass on my property. Where this really concerns me is, does he perceive that his property extends from his driveway to the mailbox? We have to walk down that city road to get to our community park, which we pay, neighborhood dues to use this gated community park, to use the lake. If his perception is that's his property, then since this event, I've been walking with my phone in my hand, with my camera on in case I need to document anything. And it makes me feel very unsafe. The other really important thing I want to correct is that I stepped, there were back and forth yelling between my husband and Walker. I stepped between them because I am conflict averse and I wanted to de-escalate the situation. And I stepped in front of my husband with my hands down and said, Walker, stop. Just stop it, stop. Because he was approaching us and getting closer. And he looked right through me. He was trying to get his face as close to Ted's as he possibly could to yell in his face. And he didn't acknowledge that I was a human being standing in front of him. He pushed into me to get as close. He didn't touch me with his hands. He didn't threaten me, but he pushed into me to get as close as he could to my husband. And when he says in here that Ted said he was going to throw something at him, and he said, go ahead. I think Ted said, I'm going to call the police. And Walker said, go ahead. We went into that. So there was a long period of time before we made it home and called the police, and the police came and took our statements. And Walker says that he sent the text message right away. If you look at the timestamps, you can see he sent it after the police came, the text message to all the board members. But what surprised me next was when the police officer took my statement, he said, would you like to press charges? And I was really surprised. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, did he push into you? And he said, yeah, he did. And I said, no, I do not want to press charges. I do not want to provoke Walker. I just want him to stop. I want to de-escalate this. But it was important to document it because this is the third time, and I will say honestly that my husband has told me of Walker yelling at him, and I thought I didn't see it, but I saw it this time, and it was shocking, and it came out of nowhere like a rocket, and it alarmed me. The other thing in here that involves me that I want to correct is there was an occasion where Walker asked me to ask Ted to stop talking about him. That did happen, but actually, and he says in here, he talked to me because Ted had stopped talking to him. What actually happened was we walked out of our house with our dog, which I guess is what we're usually doing when we're walking on the street. And there's Walker waiting out on the road in front of our house. And Ted and I were together. And Walker said, Callie, would you please tell your husband to stop talking about me? And Ted was standing right behind me, and it felt really absurd. I'm like, okay. And I turned to Ted and I said, Ted, stop talking about Walker. Because it was like, okay, why don't you just tell him that? He's standing right here. So anyways, I just think he's misportraying the interactions. There's so many more things that I would like the opportunity to correct, but my husband is extremely friendly. He talks to everyone in the neighborhood, and Walker even says that in here. If you want to know what's going on locally, you ask Ted, because he talks to everyone. That is true. And sometimes he talks to excess. That is true also. And that's yeah. He's also known to walk through the neighborhood with his blower and blow people's driveways off for them. We have an elderly neighbor. She really appreciates it. We have a neighbor with health issues. He really appreciates it. Not everybody really appreciates it. If they say, please don't do that, he doesn't do it. My husband was president of the neighborhood association. I think we were trying to remember exactly 2 years, and on the board for at least 3 years. So he's been very involved also in maintaining the community park. He does trim bushes. He loves to do yard work and landscaping, and he doesn't own a machete. I don't know what that's about, but he does have lockers, and he does trim bushes that are hanging out in the road and whatnot. And he does trim the bushes adjacent to the entry to the park, which also is adjacent to Walker's property. That is true. One more thing about that, I guess I want to say, because this has happened since 4 weeks ago when we came to court to resolve this, and Walker asked for an extension. So after this last incident, which happened right in front of the community park, and we ended the situation by getting ourselves inside the park and locking the gate behind us. And Ted and I went and sat on the dock, which is usually a really tranquil place for us. And we were trying to calm down after this last encounter. I said, you know what? I cannot relax here, because you can look straight across and see Walker's dock and his properties right there. I'm like, we need to just go home. And Ted said, we need to call the police. Since then, we were in the park, and I was laying on the dock, and George, the dog, came running in and like trampled me as I'm laying on the dock. George has boundary issues. If someone has boundary issues, it's George, but he's an adult male, unneutered dog, and he behaves the way you would expect an adult male unneutered dog to behave, I guess. But we're like, what are you doing in the park? I stood up and I was like, George, go home, George, go. And I walked him to the end of the dock, but instead of George walking straight up to the gate where everyone comes and goes, he walked to the fence adjacent to Walker's property. And I thought, how is he getting through there if he's not supposed to be able to let himself into the park? And a couple of visits later, when I noticed, I was not comfortable to go investigate if I thought Walker was home, but he wasn't home. And I went to look at the fence, and it's been unbolted from the post and open, panel's been open so that he can come freely from his own property into the park, where I used to feel safe if I could shut the gate behind him. And know also that an unleashed dog isn't going to just let himself in, which, you know, and apparently there was a so-called incident with a deer that, I don't know, the board's dealing with it, but I no longer feel safe in the park, even because it's completely open to, it's an extension of his backyard now. So that when I saw what he said about Ted thinks he owns the park, I just thought, well,
add something to that.
yeah, I think that was the main things that I wanted to say. Oh, I did want to say something about Ally's declaration. Can we go back and forth, or
No.
would you rather finish with me?
Yeah.
Okay. We've been told by several neighbors, again, Ted knows everyone in the neighborhood and they talk to him. It isn't just him talking to them. They come, they approach him, talk to him. And we've been told by several that Walker had been making the rounds and asking people to make a statement against Ted. And they were like, I wanted to let you know. I said no. I thought it was really weird and made me uncomfortable that he asked me that. But so Allie lives directly, her property kind of faces Walker's and then the park. And she and her husband Travis grew up in the house, and they purchased it from Travis's dad and his stepmom, and Ted knows the dad really well, but they've retired and moved out of state. But so Allie, she says she's been there about 2 years. And I just have really strong feelings about this, and I'm going to try and stay really calm. But as a mother, what comes to mind, she might not like how Ted delivered the message, but when you're a neighbor, if you feel like there's something unsafe happening in the neighborhood, if you see something, say something. And I'm upset because our daughter used to babysit for Walker and his first wife, Anne Marie. And she spent a lot of time in that house. And when you find out later, it wasn't safe, you feel like you didn't protect your child. And I would want, if I was Allie, I would want to be told. If someone had concerns, I would want to be told. And what Walker doesn't like is that we're friends with his ex-wife, Anne Marie. We're friends with his ex-wife, Bobby Sean. We're friends with his adult sons. And we're friends with them. And he might not like us talking to them, but they're human beings and they have a right to say they don't want to talk to us, but I don't think Walker has a right to tell us we can't talk to them. And we know because of talking to them that they both have had protection orders and that there have been incidents in the home. And I think there's a duty to warn, and if you see something, say something. And I don't always like how my husband delivers messages, but I think it was important to say something when you know that there's a child playing in the home. I do want to say, I don't think Walker would hurt the children. I would hope he wouldn't hurt the children. I'm not saying that he's a threat to the children. I just know, because I've witnessed it, that he has a short fuse and a very aggressive anger, and it's intimidating and it's scary. And I wouldn't want my child to be present when that goes off. That's what I want to say about Alice. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Ms. Cruz, do you have questions?
Yes, I do, just briefly, Your Honor. I do know. Okay, so I want to talk about the most recent incident on July 26th. And I have, I guess, a question for either one,
Well,
because
Yeah, right now it's just questions for Ms. Whiteside since she's the one who just finished testifying.
okay. Well, I guess, I mean, she's already testified, but Ms. Whiteside, is this the most recent incident that you testified to? Is that the only incident that you have with Mr. Walker in what you describe as acting this way?
With me personally, yes.
Okay.
When he asked me to tell Ted to stop talking about him, he was very calm. I appreciate it.
Okay. So he was calm.
In the other incident, this incident, he was everything but calm. He was enraged.
Okay. And you've known Walker for 20 plus years, correct?
Correct. We knew his wife, Anne Marie, before that, actually, before they moved in the neighborhood. But yes, we've known him
Okay.
since.
And so you've had many, times where you've spoken to him, and nothing like what you're testifying today has ever occurred to you.
Well, I will say, I don't go out and talk to the neighbors as much. I walk the dog and I say hello to people, yes. And I expect them to be friendly, and I would expect Walker to be friendly, and yes.
Okay, I just want to know that you've had
I'm
other
more of an
encounters.
introvert, and I don't socialize in the neighborhood as much as my
Okay,
husband.
but you've had other encounters, correct, with my client in these about 20 years, correct?
He was never.
Okay,
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I
Okay,
wouldn't say
thank
I know Walker well at all,
Okay.
but I have had encounters.
Okay. The incident where you're saying his dog ran over to you, when was that?
Actually, we don't need to get into that. That's
I don't
not
know
gonna,
what the date
okay,
was.
yeah, well,
In the last.
no, okay, hold on. That's not gonna play into my decision
Okay.
regarding a order between the parties, what happens with the dog, so.
Okay. I don't have any questions for Carolyn.
All right, thank you. Mr. Foshaw, go ahead.
My name's Ted Theodore Foshak. I'd like to make a couple interesting points. When Walker was interviewed by the police, he said that I had it looked like a water bottle. And now in this sworn statement right here, he says it's a wine bottle and I was going to hit him with it.
Okay,
It was this.
This is what we'd gone to a concert at San Michelle Winery. This is the glasses they give you. I thought it was cool.
Plastic.
It's plastic. It's light as a feather.
It might have looked like glass.
And
go ahead.
Not a
and
bottle.
there was about this much. It was a mix of a little bit of wine and spindrift. And I was like this. Callie's head was here, and his nose was right here in my face, just screaming. And I'm like, Walker, I'm going to throw this at you, meaning get back. I wasn't going to hit him. I wasn't going to, do that kind of thing. But to have somebody spitting, screaming, beat red head and face, going, don't talk to my fucking kids. Don't you get on my fucking property. We're like, hey, we're at the
Just want to
park.
know.
Leave
One
us
at a time, please,
alone.
Ms. White.
That's what it's been like. Prior to that, I'd spent 3 hours working at the park. Came down with my dog, taking a shower. I'm opening the gate. It's a very heavy, large lock with a too short chain. So I'm fiddling, trying to get it undone. And here comes his dog around the corner. He's a big dog. He's probably 80 pounds. And he's a nice dog, but not to other neighbor dogs. I now know of 2 people that were
Okay,
so.
okay.
But anyway, this is important because he said in there that I let his dog out. And I said, what? And the dog pushed so hard, it pulled my finger back, trying to get my finger out of the lock and shoved the gate open. I'm like, geez, George, this is what we deal with all the time since he's had that dog. He takes off. I'm like, George, get back here. I didn't know if his dad was in the park or not. So I'm going, George, and he comes around the corner. He goes, did you just do what I think you did? This is how he talks to his neighbor. And I said, what do you mean? George just pushed me and about ripped my finger off. He goes, yeah, you let my dog out. I said, no, I did not let your dog. He wouldn't quit. I said, fine. I turn around, I start walking away, and he's coming after me. Literally 2 fists in the air going, I'll fucking beat your head in. I'm like, what? And I'm walking faster. I don't know where the dog was. And in here he says, my dog could get hit by a car. It's a dead-end road, first of all. And said that he's so worried. He keeps coming. I have sworn at him one time. I said, F off. I'm sick of this. That's the one swear word. If he says I swear at him, tell me some of the swear words. I've never sworn. I don't cuss. I don't yell at my kids. I don't swear to my kids. He kept coming. So I turned around and I headed two houses down is the president's home, and her husband was there and she wasn't. I was so shaken like right now. And I'm like, guess what just happened? Good Lord, I can't believe it. Where's this going to go? I called the police on that. But of note, he talks about the dog being unsafe and that I let him out on purpose. Guess what? Wednesday morning, I had a contractor at my house. We were at the end of his tailgate was right on the road, looking at his product sample for gutters. I'm looking over and here comes George out of our front yard. I didn't see Walker anywhere. I don't know if he
What
was
happened with the
walking.
dog isn't important.
In this courtroom, the judge carefully listened to every detail before reaching a decision. The court showed patience, fairness, and respect for both sides, while ensuring that accountability remained at the center of justice. The judge's words reflected the importance of responsibility, self-control, and respect for others. Rather than acting on emotion, the court relied on facts, evidence, and the rule of law. This case serves as a reminder that justice is not only about punishment, but also about protecting victims, encouraging accountability, and maintaining public trust. The courtroom once again demonstrated why fairness and law matter in society.
A routine family court hearing quickly turned into a dramatic custody battle. A father learned that a child believed to be his had been placed for adoption in Colorado, while a divorce case was still pending. He claimed he was never informed and immediately fought back in court. As arguments over DNA testing, custody rights, and jurisdiction intensified, the judge delivered a powerful warning. The court